Hello everybody, thanks for joining me for another issue of Sam's Device Advice. Today we're going to be taking a look at Google Docs. So in the past videos we've looked at setting up your Google Drive and making your Google Chrome account personalized. Today we're actually going to get into the creation of a document itself. We're going to then look at how to set up the page, how to insert different items, how to use the Dictate feature. Google also includes a little Explore button we're going to talk about. And we're going to look at how to download your documents to different file types as well, and maybe a few other cool features while we're along the way. Today I decided to put on my 3D printed glasses because they make me look smarter, even though there is no lens in them. So it's not that smart, trust me. So as always, let's take a look at my desktop here. So I'm already in my Google Drive. If I wanted to get there though, I would click on one of my bookmarks I've created, or in my new tab, I would click on the waffle on the top right and find Google Drive. And again, just as a reminder, make sure you are signed into Google Chrome itself. If you're on a Chromebook, you don't have to worry about this step, but if you're on a Windows or Apple computer, make sure you see your icon in the top right. If you don't, click there and click the blue button that says Sign In. So in our Google Drive, I'm going to want to create a new document, but I want it to be in a folder that I've created already. So I'm going to put it in my test folder. And as a reminder, whichever folder you are in, when you click New, that's where your document's going to be created. So in here, I'm going to click this New button, and I'm going to go to Google Docs. Again, we looked at in the past about using the templates gallery from Google. So if I wanted to, I could use their templates. But from this case, I'm just going to create a blank document. So I just have to click on Google Docs. So I'm not going to go through all of the standard features. I'm going to assume that you are able to use a word processor for the most part. If you've used Microsoft Office in the past, a lot of this won't be new. So I want to show you the features that are unique to Google. So once I'm in here, I'm going to set this up maybe as a worksheet. So I'm going to call this my science worksheet. Now, I showed you briefly in a previous video, but up here is my document name, the actual file name of this. You really want to get into the habit of creating your document title because you don't want your Google Drive filled with a whole bunch of untitled documents. It just makes it a lot more difficult to find what you're looking for, even with the search function. So what's kind of nice though is that if I've given my document a title and I click up here, Google's going to automatically take the first line or the first few words and add it to my title. So now I can click off and I have Science Worksheet as my file name. So if I go back into my folder, you can now see Science Worksheet is the name of this. So let's set this up as an actual worksheet here. I'm going to change my font size, make it a little bit bigger, and let's bold that. And a nice little hint, I'd like to show students this and give them some time to mess around with this. Google gives you access to a lot of different fonts. So what you can do is you can click on this More Fonts button and it's going to open up their library. And then you can go through and find any of them that you'd like and click on it and they get added to your fonts list on the side. So Google actually has a few ones that I really like. Nunito, sadly enough, is one that I enjoy. I have a thing for fonts, leave me alone. And then once you click OK, they then get added to your list. So now you can see Nunito is added on there. I'm probably not saying that right. So now that we've set up our document here, let's talk about how to set up your page. Because right now it's set as a portrait. But if I wanted to set this as landscape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mouse, click on File, scroll all the way down to Page Setup. So in here, you can change the portrait to landscape. You can change the size of the paper if you need it to be in legal or tabloid, whatever it might be. You can set your margins here, and then you can also change the color of the page if you'd like. So if this is something that's going to be shared digitally and won't be printed, go ahead and change your color. If you are going to print this, avoid that like the plague because you don't want to kill your printer. And then at the bottom, you can set these as default. So if you're essentially always writing in legal format, or if you are in a different country and you're using A4 paper, you can set that as your default. So every new document will be created that way. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click OK. So now I have a green page. It's still in my portrait mode. So now I want to insert a couple pictures. So for this science workshop or worksheet, This is going to be about, let's say it's microscopes. So what I'm going to do is take my mouse up to the top, and under Insert, I have all these options for how to insert or what different items I can insert. I'm going to go to Image and hover my mouse, and you can see these options. So I can upload one from my computer. So if I have a picture I've downloaded into my computer, I could do it there. I could search the web, which I'm going to show you in a moment. I could find any items I have in my Google Drive. I could add a picture by a link if I was given the URL. Or you can actually, if you have a camera, you can turn on your webcam and take a picture of yourself and put that into your document too. So right now it's using my second camera, so I could go ahead and take this picture and add that into my document. It might take a little bit of time because I'm so funny looking. The other thing that I was going to show you though is using search from web. So if I go to Insert, Image, Search from web, it's going to bring up this search window, and I'm going to type in microscope and hit enter. And now it's doing a Google search for me. So it's going to bring me all these different images that I want to use. And to insert one, I can either click on the picture I want, and I can click on multiple ones, and then I could click insert here. Or even easier, I can just click and drag the picture over onto my page, wherever I'd like it. So you can see it's pretty large, so I might want to resize it. So I'm going to click on my picture and grab the corners and drag them up because I want this on the first page. And a nice extra feature that a lot of people don't find on here, if I click on my picture and then double click, you get these little cropping toolbars or cropping bars that show up. And I can actually use these to shrink and crop my picture itself. And then when I get it to the size that I want, I can hit enter. And now I'm just left with the cropped version of this. So it's really handy. You don't have to open up another program to do that. Again, clicking on the picture, I have my wrapping options. So I can have my text, I can have my picture in line with my text. I can wrap the text around my picture, or I can actually break the text itself. And depending on what your usage is going to be, you can play around with those. Wrap text tends to be the most useful one. So let's shrink this up here a little bit. So that's how you would insert a picture. Under insert, you also have a table. So if I can draw out the size of the table that I need. I think it goes up to 20 by 20 is the max, and then from there on you can add them manually. Insert a drawing. We're going to look at Google Drawings in another video, so I'll touch on that later. You can insert a chart, and this is going to connect it from a Google Sheet. So if you have a spreadsheet open and you have a chart that you've been making, you can insert it right from here. And then obviously a horizontal line and a footnote. The thing that I really like showing people is using the special characters. So again, under the Insert tab, click on Special Characters. You get access to obviously all of these characters. But if you're anything like me, you might not know the name of the character that you're looking for, but you know what it looks like. So I could type in here, and under my search, if I'm looking for a $sign, let's say, but let's say I want to do a smiley face or a cent symbol, I can actually use my mouse and draw the symbol in here, and Google's going to do its best to find what I'm looking for. So it's actually found the cent symbol that I'm looking for and a few others. And this works with emojis as well, so I could draw a person's face and grab a whole bunch of different faces there. I can even do a terrible version of a cat, and Google's going to do its best to find a cat for me. So here we go. And now wherever my mouse cursor is in my document, if I click, it's going to insert that item wherever my cursor was. So in this case, is right after the picture. So again, that was under Insert, and then Special Characters. And let's even just do that $sign again. And I'll choose this green one. And it's inserted it onto my page, so I can X out of this guy. The other thing I said I was going to mention was the Explore button. So Google uses what they call machine learning. It's kind of an artificial intelligence, but just not that fancy yet. It's just being trained by humans, essentially. So where it is, it's in the bottom right-hand corner of your document. And if you hover over it, you're going to see it say Explore. And it's going to bring up that search window on the right again. But what this Explore button does is it essentially is reading my document for me, and it's going to give me suggestions for what I might want to research or what I might want to look up. So it says my topics were worksheets, and if I click here, it's going to do a Google search for worksheet, and I can go back. It gives me related research for that topic about worksheets. But I can also search just in this little window too. So if I wanted to find a science, got to spell correctly, science worksheet, right inside of my Google Doc, I could be doing this research. And then once I click on one of these links, it'll open up a new tab at the top of my window. Now, the reason I show you this is it's really handy to keep students on task. I find the second I ask a student to open up a new tab and start Googling something, I've probably lost their attention for a good 5 minutes. In this case, I can ask my students to look up basic information about elephants in this window, and it's going to give them a lot of information right here without having to click anywhere else. They can also click on this Images tab and again start inserting images from this little extra toolbar without having to open up a new window and get a little bit more distracted. And then finally, in your you can search your drive for different items. So in this case, I have a couple worksheets that I've used this elephant in, so I could insert those from there. So that's using the Explore button. Lastly is showing you how to download files. So you don't have to download this ever if you don't need to. You could share this document like we looked at in a previous video. But let's say you needed to have this as a PDF, or you are sending it to somebody who only uses Microsoft Word. You can do that. So if we click on File, you're going to see your first option, your fifth option is Download As. And if I hover my mouse over it, you can see all of these different options that I have available. So the most popular are going to be a doc, so Microsoft Word format, or a PDF. And if I click on, let's say PDF for example, it's going to take a moment. It's going to then show me my downloads bar here, and it's saved it as a PDF file. So if I were to send this out to somebody, they're going to get this as this PDF. So they can't change it, they can't do anything to it, but it's just a PDF file. Quick tip, if you're ever making a resume, make sure you save it as a PDF before you send it out. It's kind of embarrassing if you send a worksheet or a document where it's all underlined with your name spelled wrong. Do it as a PDF. So that is the most parts of what we're going to look at today, except for the dictate feature. So we looked at page setup, inserting items, the explore button, and download. Now let's quickly look at the dictate button. You don't need to see my face. Here we go. So in Google Drive or in Google Docs, even without this read and write toolbar, everybody has access to the dictation feature. So I actually use this on a daily basis. Sometimes I'm just too lazy to type. And where you find that is under Tools. So if I click on Tools and then bring my mouse down to Voice Typing, it's going to open up this microphone. And you will also see in the website address bar a little camera show up. If you see an X over this, or if your microphone's not working, check this to make sure that it doesn't have a line through it. You can click on it and make sure that it's allowing that. Little troubleshooting there for you. But now, once I hit this microphone, it's going to start dictating what I'm saying. It's going to ask you to give Google access to your microphone, which you want to click Allow. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. So I find it does a pretty good job with this. Some people do find that Google's dictation will randomly capitalize letters if it's the title of a song, let's say, or title of a movie. But for the most part, it does a really good job. And you can actually use this if you're familiar with drag and dictate. You can use it to put in punctuation. Let's try that. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, period. So again, it's going to add that point at the end. Something that I try to make sure students get in the habit of is turning off the microphone after they finish speaking. Sometimes they get frustrated because it'll pick up their friend beside them, or they'll start talking to somebody else and it picks up that and they have to start deleting it. So it's just a good habit to get into, to turn off your microphone when you're not using it. Makes it a little easier to use. And you can see, just a quick note, you'll see this Explore button lit up. So now Google's saying it has some suggestions based on now what I wrote here. So talks about the rain in Spain, talks about my sentences, and gives me some suggestions of pictures to use as well. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh yeah, one more thing I might as well show you is the different editing modes. So this has been obviously in editing mode. I can make edits to my page. If I wanted to, let's say somebody shared a document to me and I wanted to make some suggestions, but I didn't want to actually change their version, what I can do is click on this pencil in the top. If your screen's a little bigger, you might actually see this say editing mode, but the pencil works. And I'll click suggesting. Now that this has turned green, I can go through and I can delete or add words, and it's going to change the color of them, but it's not going to change the original. So show what I mean. So instead of, let's say I didn't want this person to use the word quick, I wanted to use fast. As I type that in, Google is going to cross out the word quick and replace it with the word fast. And then in this right-hand margin, it's going to say that this person wanted to replace it, and adds a little comment. So I could then go through after somebody has edited my paper and accept their suggestions or decline them, or I can reply saying thanks. This is a really good tool to use for students when they're doing peer editing. Have them share different documents with each other. Let's say it's an essay. Have them turn on suggesting mode, and then they can go through and make some edits for their partner's work, but their partner can still see the changes that were made. So they don't have to worry about it being changed for them. They can decide whether or not they want that those edits. The same would be if I wanted to type in new words. This is me typing. Again, those words are surrounded by green. Here, I'm going to change my background color here because this is hard to see. Let's go back to a white page. There we go. That's a little easier. So now these green words are the ones that I did in suggesting mode. But if I go back to editing mode, it's going to allow me to either accept or decline these. So if I decline, let's move over a little bit. If I decline this, it's going to revert back to quick. But if I hit accept, it's going to keep that suggestion in there. And the last version under editing mode is just viewing. So it's just turning this on to a view only mode, so you can't make any changes to it accidentally. So that's what we're looking at today. So so far, what we covered was your Google Docs page setup, inserting items, using the dictate button, the explore button, and how to download your documents as well. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at sam@samgoving.com. And otherwise, take care. Have a great day. Cheers.